The San Francisco 49ers have traded for Chase Young of the Washington Commanders at the trade deadline. Let's talk about it. Welcome, everybody. Let's go, Niners. My name is Jason Aponte. What's up, 49er fans? I'm Jason Aponte. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell for when we go live. Let me fix this camera real quick. Okay. So, trade deadline has come and gone. 4 o'clock was the deadline, and the San Francisco 49ers walk away with Chase Young of the Washington Commanders, former number 2 overall pick, OSU. A lot of people pining for an edge rusher. I would have preferred Montez Sweat, but Montez Sweat got dealt to the Chicago Bears for a heftier price as well, too. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, a high second. But either way, with the way that Chase Young has been playing, this is going to be a fantastic addition. Now, the question just becomes, will this be the fix to the pass rush? Schematically, are there things that need to be done? I think all of those things are true, but there is a bye week to figure this out right now. So, something actually just came across before I came on here. A New York Giants insider is reporting that the 49ers had a trade for Adoree Jackson in place, but the Giants failed to report it in time. So the 49ers were actually about to bring in Adoree Jackson to play outside corner, which is somebody I thought that they could target that wasn't like Jalen Johnson or anything like that, who could be, a help. And the Giants did not report it in time. So that deal did fall through. The 49ers did look to add on the corners as well, too. So that's disappointing. Especially considering once this deal comes across, it's like, well, now what do we do? And it might be a fake account. Okay, so if it's a fake account, cool. Like I hope so. I think so too. Unless let me look at it because I think he has so many followers. Let me take a look. New York NFL Giants insider, ASMR representative. Yeah, I don't know. Looks legit. Uh, none of his tweets are a parody. Everything looks legit. Literally talking about things that are happening inside the building. So maybe it didn't happen, but I'll read the tweet verbatim. The Giants had a trade agreed with the 49ers for Adoree Jackson, but failed to report it to the league in time. And that has happened before, right? Isn't that kind of what happened with oh my God, was it Terrell Owens trade? When they didn't get it in time, something like that. I forget the instance, but whatever. Seemed like the 49ers were intent on upgrading corner and then adding Chase Young as well too as an edge rusher. So look, talent wise, I think we all know what Chase Young brings. Talent wise is not the issue. Health is the issue. And then how does Steve Wilkes deploy him? And will this be the fix, right? But man, when you look around at this defensive line, it's just full of stars. It's literally like the Avengers of like the defensive line. So no matter what, I think there are a lot of things, and I spoke about this a lot. There are a lot of things that need to be fixed internally, schematically. But they went out of their way to get somebody, and then for a third round pick, which they have no luck hitting on anything, right? TDP, all these other people that have been taken. It's a steal. And when you look at the contract, and it's about $650,000 that's being paid to him, it's all icing on the cake. And if Chase Young leaves, then they get another third round comp, I believe. So it's just again shrewd move to get an impact player. Hopefully, you would think Chase Young, Nick Bosa, Hargrave, Armstead, that's enough, like as starters, right? And then you still have your rotational guys, Farrell, Gregory, all those things. Possibly could be the shot in the arm that the 49ers are looking for, especially on defense, which right now isn't having the impact that we thought they would. And if you can start to change games, and maybe your offense isn't up to par this week, but you can change games with sacks and fumbles and interceptions. Like, yeah, it's more important to just add at least, right? Because if the 49ers would have rested on their laurels and said we're not bringing anybody in, we're just going to fix it internally, I don't think a lot of fans would have liked that. But then when you look at the Chase Young numbers and everything, it's perfect. Everything about it is great, from the contract length to how much it costs to what they gave up. The return on investment could possibly be huge. So I don't think you can really be upset with the 49ers right now. Is this going to be the end all be all that, like, changes this defense? Maybe. I mean, he has the talent to be an impact player in that way, but I think there are bigger things going on that needs to be addressed in this bye week in terms of Steve Wilkes and his scheme and everything as well too. So, shout out to everybody in here. Almost about 70 people in here. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell for when we go live. I wasn't planning on going live today. I was thinking about just kind of taking it off with the trade deadline, but this seems to be a move that's big enough. And around the league, there were a few other trades. I mean, I think Donovan People-Jones got sent to Detroit. Montez Sweat obviously goes to Chicago. And funny enough, a lineman was traded. A lineman was traded. Like Ezra Cleveland got traded, and that's funny because I kind of talked about it earlier about how, hey, linemen generally don't get moved, but Ezra Cleveland was kind of like falling out of favor over there in Minnesota. So a former second round pick that's a guard. Um, I don't know, and I don't want to speculate on this because I see a lot of people that are upset and they're saying, "Oh, John Lynch, John Lynch wasn't in on this." We don't know that. We don't know that at all, right? Like we don't know, and that's the part. But would think he would have been in on that because he can take over one of the guard spots, right? Especially with Aaron Banks now missing a few weeks. Ezra Cleveland's played in this league, second round pick. So it was kind of weird to say, like I had thought the entire time, like you don't really trade linemen because it's such a premium position and everything. But Minnesota did just that, and it didn't seem like it cost them much. So, let's see. So yeah, if it could count. Okay, just saw the news. Very happy about the trade. Great value. Might not work out in the end, but I like it. Right, like you can't knock the thought process. You can't knock the thought process with this one. Now, the results are going to bear out what's the return on investment here from Chase Young, but you can't knock the process, right? Like they did, and they went and they got somebody who anybody would love to add to their team. And recently, Chase Young has gotten healthy, started playing. I believe he's fourth or fifth in the league in pressure rate. I mean, he's looking like that guy that they drafted. So it's a great move. And if anybody can get anything out of him, Chris Kosurik, this defense, you hope it's going to turn the corner, and they're going to need it right away. They're going to need it right away. Um, Young is fantastic. Andrew, what's up, buddy? Young is fantastic, but are you more excited that they got Young or more disappointed they didn't address other needs? Andrew, I think the best way to look at this is we don't know what was actually being discussed. We don't know. Like it was talked about, like with Jalen Johnson, but again, like the schematics of that is like, hey, you got to sign him, and it's a 1 year rental. And if you go in for the 1 year rental, you got to win, right? Like, so we don't know what they were asking for. Maybe it was just too far. So for me, I don't judge what they didn't get because I'm not privy to those conversations. So I think they did the best they could based on again what they gave up, what they're paying Young, and what the reward could be. So yeah, I think that I'm fine with this, obviously, and a lot of people are excited, and they should be, absolutely. But I'm not as worried. Like, hey, they didn't go get a corner. We don't know those discussions. We don't know how they went, and we don't know who they spoke to, right? Like, so that's the thing. Yes, the trade deadline is over. Ryan, thank you for the donation. The bear, the grave digger, and now the predator. Man, um, it's funny enough that a video resurfaced, I think, from last season when Washington was in town to play the Niners, and like Chase Young sitting there talking to Nick Bosa, OSU guys, and now they're gonna get to play with each other. Man, it's this bye week is perfect because now while you're trying to figure this thing out defensively, you can incorporate Chase Young and he can go ready to go in Jacksonville. And I think that's the best part about this is like you need this to return. You need this to return like right away. You need investment return right away. You need to see this defensive line take a step. You need to see the scheme change. You need to see how they're going to start deploying guys. Again, no more stunts. Just now look, no excuses. Young on the outside, both on the outside, go get them. Like that's it. Like you don't have to get creative. Those guys can win on their own. And possibly Chase Young could be the best that Nick Bosa's ever played with. And I think talent wise, it's not an issue. I think it's the health thing. So for me, right now, I think this comes at the right time with the bye week. You can move things around schematically. You can get Chase Young up to speed, but it's got to hit right away. Like in Jacksonville, it's got to hit. Like it's got to start, and it can't be, hey, give him another week, give him 2 weeks. It's got to be right away. I hate to put that type of pressure on him, but it's more about the defense. And you have a bye week now, and you have a way to figure out how to get Chase Young acclimated with this defensive line. You have to make that work right away. Like it has to happen against Jacksonville. No questions asked. So let's see. Ivan says, is Oliver playing BZ? He is the best available in the position, or Because okay, because um well, he wasn't a Wilkes guy. Wilkes just loved him. He said he was the best available nickel, right? Because he was in Atlanta the entire time. So I don't know. I think what they like about him is how he fits in the run game, but people are attacking him in the pass game. And that's something that obviously when you're in the slot, it's against shiftier receivers and it's harder and harder, right, for guys to keep up, especially when they start putting people in motion against you. So it's a little bit of both. Like he never really was known as like a big cover guy or a fast guy, and now it's just kind of like, well, pick your poison at this point. We're going to try to go at him, and he's just unfortunately struggled that way. So I think it's the way that they like him in the run fit, even though they're giving up rushing yards all over the place. But yeah, I think it's that. If I was gonna guess anything, Gojira says, best part of the trade, one less third rounder for Kyle to embarrass himself with. Man, look, the third round. Look, I'm not gonna make the joke. It's there. You know what I'm talking about. But like the third round has not been good to the 49ers. Trey Sermon, TDP, like Cam Latsu, right? Like it's not going well. It's not going well. So you're getting a third round comp pick back. You probably get another one if Chase Young does leave or something like that. I'm sure they're gonna have a higher inside the building as well too. So the 49ers have kind of perfected this comp pick third round area, and they've manipulated it to their benefit, right? Rand Carthan leaves, Mike McDaniel leaves, all those guys, and you just boom, you get your third round pick. So let's see. Samuel says, "Let's go, Jason. However, do you think Wilkes will do anything differently? I think he has to. I think he has to. I think with the way that they're speaking, I think that's exactly what they need to do. Not so much going back to the drawing board, just a little bit more of tweaks, right? Like I love what Richard Sherman said about the stunts and everything as well too. It's just like let guys pin their ears back and go. Right now, the secondary has to be married to that because no matter who's on that defensive line, if guys are running wide open, quarterbacks in this league are going to identify it and they are going to make you pay. So it's little things, right? Maybe step up some of the coverage. Don't give so much cushion. I understand the whole plan going into the season with Wilkes, and he spoke about this at length, was limiting explosive plays, but now you're not doing that either. So something's got to change. And I think that it definitely will change. I think Kyle and he will work this week to figure those things out. And there's precedent where teams that have gone on to have nice runs have had like moments like this, 2 to 3 weeks where it doesn't look good and you're wondering about them and then they figure it out, right? So you have to believe in the coaching and you have to believe, hey, listen, we've got an extra week. We don't have to game plan for anybody. We can actually really get in the weeds in this thing and fix it. And Kyle's very good at understanding defenses. That's why he's so good on offense, because he knows your defensive rules. He makes you follow your rules and then he uses that against you. So I know it's a long answer, but I think like I'm fairly certain they have to fix something and change something. So um let's see. Sherman for DC. I love that idea, man. I love that idea. I talked about it today on Bully Ball. Richard Sherman is by far one of the smartest football players I've ever been able to watch, right? Understanding coverages, understanding route concepts, even understanding line play. Like he went to Stanford, right? Like you're no dummy if you go to Stanford. But when Sherman was in his peak, he wasn't like this physical freak. I mean, obviously he was tall and he had length and he can really press receivers and play, but like in coverage, like cover three, right? But understanding what they're trying to do to you, all that stuff, that is so important. And I think Sherman would be an excellent DC, especially everybody's talking about Wilkes' energy. Sherman would like light this place up. Like he would light this place up. So uh Jay Mill says, well, Jason, you avoid getting traded to the Commanders. Actually, there were a lot of discussions. I vetoed the trade at the last minute, just so I didn't have to hear that terrible left hand up song that Andrew loves to troll me with, right? So David says, do you see Womack Luter coming back anytime soon? One of them, and I would love for it to be Luter. But that's a tough ask to throw him out there and say, hey, listen, you're gonna be the reason that we don't have to trade for a corner or we didn't make a move for a corner. Like just get out there and help. Um, I think Luter is down the line gonna be that guy, but this year off of the injury to just say, hey, get in there and just go. I don't know if they would have done that. And Jay Mill says, you would have retired like Jake Plummer if they traded you. Probably. I would have just got out of the podcast game. I would have to find a new job. I'll have to find a job. Like it would just be horrible. She says, I don't know if I've heard Sherm talk about wanting to coach, but I bet Kyle wouldn't hesitate to bring him on if he does. Yeah, and that's a good point too, right? Um, when when you look at what Sherm has been able to build, right, like on Amazon, his podcast, and this whole like life after football, you have to wonder, like, hey, do you want to take on the rigors of coaching, even though you're making a ton of money just being smart and talking football on TV, right? Like, so that is a very good point, right? I just think that he could. So, um, Peyton said Jason was actually traded, but the Giants didn't turn into the league on time. Yeah. Why did the Giants though? I don't want to go there. I don't want to. Those guys are insane, man. Looks like we got a Dory Jackson. I don't know. Did you guys see anything about that? I don't know if that was true. We talked about it earlier. It doesn't look like that anything's come through right now. Joe Douglas, despite any speculation, no, I don't see anything. Like no Schefter tweet, nothing like that. So yeah, not sure. Um, all right, let's see. Yeah. So look again, the tweet is a troll, right? And an awful mascot, right? The Commanders. They should just stay as Washington football team. Uh, but look, right now, what 49er fans should be excited about is you have impact players. Now it's not even going to be a matter of like, do you have the dogs to run? You've got them. You've got them. Now it's about, there's a little bit of column A and column B, I think. There is a little bit of underwhelming performances sometimes, not finishing. And the scheme itself needs a bit of tweaking to put those guys in better position, right? Marry that coverage to that pass rush, tighten it up a little bit more. Put the alignments are the part that bothers me just a little bit, right? Like you just got guys trying to cover someone 5 yards away. And it's like, man, you're making him get across. And now look, now they're putting him in motion. Now you got to run that way with him. It's like you're not having guys standing over. And whether you're doing it to disguise. I don't know. But I just know that you're putting your defensive backs in a spot where it's like, man, you're forcing them to cover, but you've already kind of put them behind the eight ball because they're far away. So that's the thing too. Let's see. Sherman would be a good idea. Yeah, Washington football team was dope. I would have kept that. Jason Shanahan said he might move Wilkes on the field. Do you think that will do anything? For me, I just don't think he has that personality like D'Amico, like Robert Saleh. If you want to spin it in a way that you think it would probably be so much like it would probably be maybe feedback, right, from the players straight to him, right? Like, hey, coach, look, I'm looking at this. This is what I'm seeing. You're having a conversation right there on the field, right? In the moment. I think maybe that could be, but like as far as like this idea that like Steve Wilkes is gonna get on the field and like start like clapping it up like Saleh and D'Amico, just don't think that's part of his personality. I don't think that's who he is, right? Like, and it would be so funny to see him on the field and the 49ers get like a pick six and everybody's celebrating and he just like they pan to Steve Wilkes and he has that face that he had in the Cleveland game, like in the booth. I would think that's so funny because we're just used to that fire from Saleh and D'Amico. And to have somebody who is so kind of stoic and doesn't really have that type of energy. I think that would be hilarious. Like huge pick six for the 49ers, and they cut over to Steve Wilkes and he's just like all right. Bruce, thank you for the donation. Why so much trouble fixing O line? We obviously lack there. Again, it takes two to tango. Again, in this league, people aren't just giving away O line because people can't find O line. And I said this earlier today too. I feel besides quarterback, that offensive line is the biggest drop off from starter to backup. Like nobody has a good backup lineman, right? Like you've got guys that you can kind of hide for a little while, Tom Compton, things like that, with scheme and your other players. But guys aren't in a rush to get rid of offensive linemen. Like again, no matter where you are as a team, whether you're a contender, whether you're rebuilding, offensive line is so precious. It's so precious that Mike McGlinchey got paid, right? Because they were just like, hey, best right tackle available, got to make it happen, right? Like has experience. When you're an offensive lineman, it's hard to move those guys, especially at the trade deadline. It's hard to move those guys because the guy behind you is not much better. So it's tough. Like you could take a chance. The only way that you would do it is you take a chance like on a lineman who is either recovering from an injury, has an injury history, or it's just somebody who's not working out and hasn't been playing and fallen out of favor. Then you take a shot on that. But I don't think teams are willingly like getting rid of their tackles or starting guards, any of that stuff. So for me, I just think it's hard to trade for linemen, even though Ezra Cleveland got traded today. But Ezra Cleveland was kind of falling out of favor, and they have a guy that they actually trust. He played against the 49ers and did pretty well, right? So yeah, respect Daniel Brunskill. Yeah, I miss Brunskill. I think that was one of the most underrated things that we lost this season. So look, I think we'll take this one from D Flow. Will Young make a difference in stopping the run, and will he make a difference if the opposing quarterback gets rid of the ball fast? Well, okay. Remember what I was talking about with pass rush and coverage? You've got to find a way to take away those quick throws, right? Get the ball out fast, make that a contested throw, make them work through progressions. Do just give your pass rush a little bit more. I know we always talk about like pass rush saves coverage. It's a little bit of both. I think it goes more hand in hand than people want to realize. But if you're tightened up your coverage, right, or you're showing looks where it's confusing a little bit, right, like where they think they know where they want to go with the ball, but now you've got it covered. Now you've got to hold that ball for a half a second more, and then that's when the pass rush can get there as well too. So it goes hand in hand. I know everybody says, "Listen, you want to stop the coverage bust, then get to the quarterback." Yeah, but a little bit of it has to be when Kirk Cousins gets the ball. I mean, even though he's not playing, I'm talking about the Minnesota game. When Kirk Cousins gets the ball and he knows exactly where he can go with the ball because someone's running wide open, that is not going to help your pass rush at all. Everybody knows that they have to get the ball out fast, and they've known about that for the 49ers since 2019. This isn't some new phenomenon, but it is because of what's going on in the secondary, and that is not married to the pass rush, which is now causing people to just run wide open. And now the sack numbers are declining. So I think it's a little bit of both. And I think the other thing is too, when you're talking about stopping the run, I think right now, and I may be off. You guys can absolutely say, hey, listen, you're tripping or you're looking too deep into it. I think it's an attitude thing right now, stopping the run. I think attitude right now is what's not stopping the run. Like they're not the team that we saw the first 5 weeks on defense is not the team that we're seeing these last 3 weeks. And this is I'm talking about attitude. And when Kyle says we were slow, and it's just they're not flying around to the ball. They're not finishing their tackles. It's like they're losing their physicality, and that's the part that scares me a little bit more. And I think that's where when that comes back, that's when you'll see the run defense pick up a little bit more. Like Greenlaw's dealing with an injury here and there. You don't know how much that's hampering him. He gets the week off. Hopefully he gets back to it. But you kind of need that edge. And I don't know, like the identity of the 49ers has been lost these last 3 weeks after like 5 weeks of them just absolutely bullying everybody and doing whatever they wanted. So it is a little concerning, and I think that that is a little bit to do with the run defense and the decline of the run defense. So again, I could be wrong, could be just maybe going off vibes, but yeah, when you're missing tackles, when you're not flying around to the ball, when you're not, giving off that same kind of effort all the time, that's when those runs at the end of the game are going to pile up, and that's when it's going to be you're tired and you're wasted right now. Like that's the part that I think will change a little bit more. Some of that can be scheme, some of that can just be attitude. Again, you guys can tell me if I'm tripping. I just think that there's a little bit of edge that's lost in this defense right now. Just a little edge, just a small edge. Hendrick says, pass rush means nothing with the quarterback thrown in less than 3 seconds. Yeah, you've got to force them to hold that ball for a little bit longer. It can't just be, hey, wide open, get rid of it. Like then it's never gonna work, right? But if you play up a little bit more, maybe you disguise something, drop a defender into that passing lane to make him hesitate and hold the ball. There's different ways to do it. And right now, with this starting four defensive line, I don't want to see blitzes anymore, right? No more blitzes. Four. You've got four. Two stud edges, two interior linemen that are studs. Go get the quarterback, right? But on the back end, you've got to get a little bit more creative now without allowing wide open throws, right? Like, Fred's gotta slide into some throwing lanes and read some eyes and get out, get the ball to stay in the pocket. And I think that's a little bit of where the coverage comes in and the pass rush will come in. So um it's not a defensive tackle problem. Hargrave's not a run stopper. Yeah. JM617 says Kinlaw needs to take off 99 right now. That's Chase Young's number, buddy. Well, I mean, he can. Can he do that? Can he do that? I think when you change a number, right? Like I think the NFL rule is you have to like buy up all the other jerseys, or something like that. I could be wrong, man. But yeah, I honestly don't care what number he uses, man. So yeah. Let's see, and then we'll take like a few more, and then I'll get out of here to let you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy the Halloween as well too. Samuel says, I think after the Cowgirls game, we stopped playing efficiently, and Kyle is not good on coming from behind. Well, to be fair, not many coaches are, but Kyle's record it kind of speaks for itself. Like you can't really defend that. Like that 0-36 number, ooh, that doesn't look good at all, right? So I mean, you can contextualize those wins in certain or those losses in certain seasons, like, hey, this quarterback was there, they were hurt, this is that, right? You can do all that, but still, you still have to find a way to win games. I don't think anybody has a winning record when they're down 8 in the fourth quarter. But 0-36, yeah, that's tough to defend, right? Double B Studio says this is the best trade Lynch and Kyle can do. I mean, takes two to tango. And again, it's hard to know the discussions. It's hard to know the demands of another team, whether they were in on another player. It's hard to know those things. On the outside looking in, you obviously want to get a corner and get a edge, right? Well, you get the edge, then you don't get the corner. It's tough. It's kind of tough, like to try to put out there, like, hey, what was said, what did they offer, what was being asked, like that's the hard part. Gojira says, who gets cut for Chase Young? Could be Kinlaw. I don't know. Kevin Givens. I don't know. I don't know. I think Kevin Givens has actually played pretty well. So yeah. Lester, shout out to you, man. Member for 13 months. Is it me or has Kinlaw been caught standing up? Yeah, he was really good early on too, as well. Haven't really heard his name as much. So yeah, it could be, again, like him really playing like extended football for like the first time in a long time. But I'll be honest with you, and I want to make sure I give the right answer. I haven't been watching him as much, so I can't say for sure, and I don't want to make something up, right, and just kind of run with that as well too. Let's see. Uh Crazy 49 says, "Yo, Jason, have you heard what happened with Jalen Johnson? It sounds like he's staying put." So the Bears can actually tag him this year coming up, and he wants a bag and he's going to get paid. Corner's another premium position that people pay up for. So I think what it boils down to probably is they probably wanted a first and a second, something like that. But then you as the team giving up the first and the second, you're giving it up for a rental, and then you might not be able to sign him either. So, like I said, I don't mind the rental, but when you go with the rental, you've got to finish the job. Like at the end of the year, you've got to finish the job to make that work, right? The Rams trade for Von Miller and they go all in and then they win and then they're like, "Hey, well, we can sign you now." Like, right? Like it worked out. Like that's the type of thing. If you're going for the rental has to pay off. It can't just be like, "Oh, we had Jalen Johnson for a year and they lost in the divisional round." Like you've got to finish the job. Like that's the part with the rental. Like you've got to finish. Um, Cook Sports loves the trade. Great mood for John Lynch. So this is it, right? Like you've got all the restructures, you've got all that money that's left. And again, Chase Young is going to make $675,000 this year for the 49ers, which is nothing, right? But with Jalen Johnson, what he's going to want, you got to sign Ayuk. You're probably going to have to restructure some other guys, move some money around. Like that $40 million looks good right now, but when it rolls over, it's going to put them really close to the cap, right? Bosa's contract's going to start to toll. All of those guys, when you pay all those guys and you restructure them, you're essentially just kicking the can down the road. So I don't know the cap like some people do, but it would be kind of hard to do that because now what? Do you let Ayuk go? Do you trade Kittle now? You have to make a corresponding move with someone who has a bunch of money on their books to bring him in, I think. So I don't know. I mean, it doesn't matter now. He wasn't moved. So possibly if they want to sign him, they can, revisit in the offseason. But I do think the Bears are thinking like, hey, either we get a massive haul for him or we can tag him and keep him. And I just don't understand their method with why trade for Montez Sweat and give away a valuable second, right? Like, I don't know, man. Samuel says, Jason, say Young plays really well and we win the bowl. What are the odds we keeping Young? I think it would be very high. And I think that Chase Young understands that he has to kind of stand on something and show that he can play a full season, right? Now, could it be one of these deals where it's like incentive laden or possibly a cheaper deal just so he can put things on film? Possibly, 100%, right? I think Chase Young understands that he is no longer in the driver's seat for a massive extension unless he just goes insane, right? Like, unless Chase Young just is like obliterating the quarterback, everything, right? Like if he starts sacking the quarterback at like an unreal rate and his defense just takes a step up, well, maybe Chase Young looks at his agent and says, "Yeah, let's get paid." But I do think that Chase Young is realistic and understands that because he hasn't put much on film, because he's been injured, that it probably would be smarter for him to take a 1 year like prove it deal. And that would behoove the 49ers perfectly. Like that would be absolutely perfect, whether it's incentive related or just like an amount that makes sense for 1 year. That would be a great way to keep him around. But I do think that, and again, I'm just basing this on vibes. I do think that again, he has to do it consistently, right? And prove it before he can ask for one of those things. So Bears out here vibing with no logic. R. Davis says, based off names, we have a top 5 defense. We have to play like it. Yep. No more excuses now. That's it, right? Like no more excuses. You got the bye week. Fix it. Fix it. Right. Let's see. Disappointed they didn't get a corner. I think everybody kind of is at that point. Adoree Jackson would have made a lot of sense. I don't know if that's true, but I kind of figured that the Jalen Johnson thing wouldn't work because of all that stuff that I was saying about like the contract and all that. But Adoree Jackson or Dante Jackson from Carolina would have made a lot of sense because you didn't need like a shutdown stud. You just needed someone that you can kick Lenoir inside so he can play in the slot a little bit more. So because the Bears are stupid, he should go off with Chris Kocurek. I think so as well, too. Chris Kocurek has a secret weapon now. And Chelsea, once again, they always think they can work on pass rush to stop secondary problems. I kind of explained it earlier. I think it goes hand in hand. The secondary's got to be able to disguise better and not allow wide open guys. I know that sounds simplistic, but there has to be a way now, especially with this starting front four, that you don't have to blitz anybody. You can drop everybody else back. Four go, 7 back. You can do that now. You can definitely do that. Not that you couldn't do it before, but now you have someone that's reliable. Unfortunately, Drake Jackson is not working out right now. Like it's no progression right now. Cleveland Farrell has moments. Randy Gregory has moments, but consistently, like, can you consistently go with 4? Now you can with Young, Bosa, Hargrave, and Armstead. And then you got 7 on the back end. You should be able to cover those things up and just force the quarterback to hold the ball for another half a second at least while these guys work and get there. No more stunts, no more long developing pass rushes. Just go and just pin your ear back and go and get it, right? Like that's the way the 49ers should be thinking. Obviously, it's not as simple as all that, but I do think you should see a little bit more of that coming out of the bye week. So, all right, guys, almost 190 people in here. Make sure that you guys like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell for when we go live. I'm going to get out of here. Thank you guys for the super chats. Thank you guys for all the likes and everything and hanging out with me. The San Francisco 49ers trade for Chase Young. Spooky deal, but bye week now. We're going to find out what this defense is about to do. And now there's no excuses on this defensive line anymore. So this should be something that would improve, you would think, the 49ers defense. So for Jay, I'm out of here. Have a good day, guys. Welcome, everybody. Let's go Niners. My name is Jason Aponte.